Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of MSATP TV. Joining us today is Rob Smith with Liscio, and Rob's here to talk to us and give us a demo and show us how to set up OneNote on our PCs to help make taxes a little easier. So, Rob, you want to take it away?
Yep, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Okay, how do I share my screen? Yep, oh, perfect. Okay, so what I'm going to do, today's the very first lunch and learn that, and I'm hoping we can basically do a lot more of these lunch and learns every 2 weeks, where we can kind of come in, talk to you about everything Microsoft 365, OneNote, Teams, SharePoint, whatever it is. But for the first couple ones, we're going to be focusing on OneNote because it's a very simple tool. Once you get it set up right and start using it, that will change your life. So let's go ahead and get started. Let me introduce myself. My name is Rob Smith. I'm now currently the head of technical content at Liscio. Before that, I was the founder of 0.7 Seconds and OneNote for All, mainly focusing on how to get accounting firms to better use OneNote and the Microsoft 365 products. And before that, I owned my own CPA firm and did all that good stuff in public accounting. So let's jump right into it. So today's agenda, we're going to basically kind of hit three main areas. The first part, we're going to go through and I'm going to show you how to set up Microsoft OneNote. The setup is key, kind of like setting up QuickBooks or any other program. If it's not set up right, it's just not going to work well. You're going to notice that, Walter, if you could go out there and basically post the PDF of the class, I've got screenshots of how I'm going to be doing everything. So don't worry if you can't quite follow along in this video. You can go back and take a look at the PowerPoints. But right now, just kind of see kind of what we're doing, why we're doing it. And then you can always go back, watch the video, kind of slow it down, and then use that with the PowerPoints, and hopefully it'll make sense. But so the first part is the setup. The second part, we're going to talk about OneDrive versus SharePoint. Where do we put our notebooks? There's two completely different worlds, and why do we want to choose one versus the other one? And then we're going to end up with how do we capture information and get it into OneNote. So let's just kind of jump right in. So the first thing that we're going to want to talk about is which OneNote do we actually want? Because if you come in here, my OneNote looks like this. I've got home, insert, draw, history, and review. But if you're sitting there looking at something and you brought up OneNote for Windows 10, it's going to look a little bit different. It's going to look something like this, where you don't have as many things across the ribbon, or you don't have as many ribbons, especially the history and review ribbon right there. You don't have those. And it's kind of on the left-hand side instead of wrapped around. So if you're using Windows 10, you want to stop using that and use the OneNote app. This is a much more powerful program. And the other one is actually getting phased out. This one's actually getting phased out in the next year or two. So stop using that one and use the right OneNote. Now, let's talk about the hierarchy. The way OneNote is set up is that you have notebooks, which are going to be on the left panel right here in the notebook listing right here. And you can pin the notebook listing open by clicking this button, this little pin right here. Then the next level, and think of those as either binders or probably better yet, virtual filing cabinets. So if you can take a look here, here's all the different filing cabinets that I have to store information. Then we've got something called section groups. Right over here is a section group. A to L, M to Z, and kind of Z how to, okay? Think of these as drawers. So this is a drawer. So if this is my 1040 filing cabinet, my A to L would be a drawer for my client's A to L. Then inside either a filing cabinet or inside a drawer or a section group right there, or in the root directory of the notebook, think of these as manila folders. So right here, I have a bunch of manila folders sitting right there. And if you think about it, these are just manila folders sitting on top of the filing cabinet. This A to L drawer right here, I've got a Brady filing cabinet or a Brady manila folder, and that's sitting in the A to L drawer. So if you think about it, just what it is in the real world, it makes a lot of sense. Then we have pages down the side here. So this page right here, and this is, you've got introduction, agenda, and then I have the email from today's meeting right here. So these are separate pages that are sitting inside this manila folder, sitting in this notebook. So pages, in a section in this notebook, or a page in a manila folder in this filing cabinet. Okay, and that's how it works. A page has to be in a section, and in a section group, you're going to have other sections, kind of like directories. But that is going to be the hierarchy of Microsoft OneNote. Okay, to kind of make the layout work a little better for you, pin the notebook listing open. You're going to want to pin the ribbon open, because by default, the ribbon is going to look like this, where all you're going to see is the tabs crossed here. So what we want to do is we're going to want to come in here and pin the ribbon open, so that way we can always show the ribbon. That way we can always see all the different functions across the ribbon. And when we're talking about the ribbon, home, insert, draw, history, review, those are the ribbons, okay? And then another thing that we're going to want to know about is the QAT, or Quick Access Toolbar. By default, that's normally going to be up here above the ribbon. But because these are going to be some of the functions we're going to use all the time, let's bring that a little bit closer to where the work is and come down here and actually click Show Below the Ribbon. That'll move your Quick Access Toolbar right below the ribbon. Now, let's continue talking about this Quick Access Toolbar, because normally what you're going to do is you're going to be sitting here on the home ribbon right here, where a lot of your most common functions are going to be. But what we're going to want to do is add a bunch of functions right here in the Quick Access Toolbar. Now remember, Excel, Word, PowerPoint, all the Office programs actually have this Quick Access Toolbar to add your favorite functions right here. So you're not constantly having to switch between all these different ribbons. So what you're going to do in the Quick Access Toolbar is click the drop down, add forward, undo, redo, and print preview. Now remember, you're not going to be able to keep up with this. Come back to the video and watch the PowerPoints, and then follow along on your software after this class is over. Then what you're going to do here is you can also come down here, click More Commands, and one of the commands you're going to want to basically add is to come in here, All Commands, scroll all the way down and go to Sync All Notebooks. So this is a really important one. Sync All Notebooks right here, and then click Add. And then here, I'm just going to push this little button right up here and push Sync All Notebooks all the way to the top right there. When I click OK, what that does, it puts a little button right here that says Sync All Notebooks. When I click that, it's going to sync all the notebooks that I've got. So if somebody's made a change, I'm going to get the sync. So that's a really important button to add right there, and make sure you're constantly syncing these notebooks. And then you can go in.
It doesn't automatically sync.
Pardon?
It does not automatically sync.
It does. It kind of does, but I like to force it because it's going to keep it up to date more often. It's going to kind of do it, but it does it on its own time. This will force a sync and make sure that you've got the latest and greatest. Okay. And then I've also got some other ones that you can basically add, but from there you can basically see the PowerPoint. Across the top, the thing that you want to basically do under the File menu is come into Account and make sure your work account is set up under the user information here, and that your work account is connected under the connected services right here. So make sure those are set up right. Also in the options, click Options, go to Display, and then make sure you disable screen clipping notification, because that's going to basically kind of mute a lot of notifications that would get very noisy. So make sure you click that, go to the Advanced tab, and then unclick the linked notes right here. Make sure you unclick both those boxes and then click OK. And that's going to sit there and adjust the file menu for you. With the OneNote icon, I can't show you the OneNote icon because I'm showing the wrong screen. So when I'm talking about the OneNote icon, actually, can I share stop sharing, share screen, and then share screen 1. Okay, let me come back and share screen 1. I apologize about that. So down right here, we've got the OneNote icon right here. So to make sure this always shows, what you're going to do is you're going to right click on the taskbar, go to taskbar settings, go down to select which icons appear on the taskbar, and then select send a OneNote tool right here and make sure this is turned on. If there's other ones on here that you don't want to see, go ahead and unclick those and you won't automatically see them right down here, because essentially what you want to do is make sure all the icons you want to see are essentially right there. And then once you have this, we're going to be able to go in, right click on it, go to OneNote icon defaults and change it to take screen clipping. What this is going to allow you to do is going to be able to come in, click this button right here, And even if you're not in OneNote, come in, screen clip just what you want, and then lets you basically send it either to a brand new page in a section, or you can even add it to the bottom of the page. So in this case right here, if I select this, which is a section tab, and then click send to selected location, that just sat there and added a brand new page right there. So that's a really easy way to, if you're looking at something on the screen and you want to save it, just come right down there and click it, and you're off and running. The other thing that
now,
you're
is
going
that
to want to
cut and paste, or is that cut and erase?
Pardon?
Does it leave it on the original page that was on, the information?
Oh, yes,
Or
the
does it
information's
move
still
it?
there. It's just a copy and paste of a screen. So that
Gotcha.
one right there, it didn't cut it from it didn't cut it from the document. It took a screen clipping of what you were looking at the screen. So if you're looking at something in QuickBooks and you wanted to save that transaction because it was
Right.
weird or something like that, boom, take a screen clipping and save it. Okay.
Thank you.
Then the other thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go in, and I've got the link in the site, but what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to download a program called Onetastic. Okay, so if you come into Onetastic, go to download Onetastic or getontastic.com, come down here, and then you're probably going to download the 64-bit, because if your Office is 64-bit, then go ahead and do that. If you have Office 32-bit, click this, but go ahead and download Onetastic and go ahead and run that program. Now, you're not going to be able to do that. You'll have to make sure OneNote is closed, but then once you've done that, then you're going to come in and you're going to get a bunch more functions right here. The main functions and the reasons why you want to do Onetastic is the really big one is right click, crop, and from here you can go in and crop a picture that's already inside OneNote. I use that all the time. That was probably the reason why I used OneNote over Evernote, was the ability to be able to crop a picture and get rid of all the extra white space that you don't need. So if that's all you needed right there, I can just bring that in, and then there you go. I use that tool all the time. The second reason what you want to do is be able to come in and add other macros. So right inside here, this gives me a whole other set of functions that I can do right within OneNote. You click download macros right here. You can come in here and either sort by category or by popularity and actually go in there, take a look at something, see what it does, either install it or run it without installing it and just kind of see what it looks like. But in here, it's going to give you so many more options to really expand the functionality of Microsoft OneNote. So that right there is how, when I go in and I'm setting somebody up, those are the things that I'm doing to basically set everybody up. So now the thing that I want to talk about next is OneDrive versus SharePoint. Okay. And then on this one right here, let's actually come in. And did I close? Let me actually, in this case right here, I do want to bring over PowerPoint real quick. And let's come down here to this. So OneDrive versus SharePoint, what's the difference? OneDrive is your individual workspace. It's kind of like your U drive on the server. You are going to save your files that you're working on that you don't need to share with, that you probably don't need to share with somebody else in the firm. So that's truly what OneDrive is for. Now you can share stuff, but you have to share the folder and the file individually with each person. So if the OneDrive is really for you, SharePoint is where you want to store all your firm files. That's where your firm workspace is going to be. It's kind of like your corporate server. And the way SharePoint works is that, think of it as a big server, and every time you create a new team, part of that server is allocated specifically for that group of people. So it's going to go there and say, this portion of the server is going to belong to this group of people or a team right there. So once a person's in the team, they get access to that information right there. Now, when you're sitting there looking at, one of the biggest things that I see people struggling with their notebooks are they have notebooks scattered everywhere and they have no clue where they're at. Well, these little next graphics right here will explain exactly what I'm talking about. So you can actually have notebooks in OneDrive in kind of almost two OneDrives. You can have it in a work OneDrive or a business OneDrive. And the way you can do that is if you hover over a notebook right there. So like right there, if you hover over a notebook, you'll see something pop up and it's going to give you the location. So what do those locations mean? Well, if you see in this case right here, Rob Smith OneDrive Liscio, that means it's my business OneDrive for my Liscio account. Documents is just kind of a generic term of where it's stored. And then it's actually in the folder Notebooks. So if I go to my OneDrive Notebooks folder, I'm going to find this notebook. But there's also something called a personal OneDrive. Okay. And in this case right here, if you have a personal 365 account, for example, maybe an Outlook.com account. Okay. So if you log in and it's a Microsoft account, that's a personal 365 account. It's not a business 365 account. Those are two completely separate things. So if you happen to have a notebook stored in your personal 365 account, it's going to look like this: OneDrive-personal. And in this case right here, it's just in the root directory of my OneDrive or my files right there. So there's two different OneDrives, a work and a personal, and that is going to be how you're going to determine where they're at. Now, let's take a look at SharePoint. By default, every SharePoint site that you create is going to have a default notebook. Okay, so if you actually go in, so for example, I've got a team. I created a team called 1040 Example, which then created a SharePoint site. And if you actually go to the SharePoint site, which is right here, this graphic right here, it actually has documents, which is where all my files are stored. So all my files, if I actually go to the Files tab, all my files are in this document library right there. But you'll see right down here, I've got that notebook sitting right there. That is the default team notebook for my 1040 Example team. Okay. And the way, if you hover over that one, you're going to see here, 1040 Example. So that's the team. And then you're going to see the word Site Assets. So if you ever see Site Assets, that means this notebook is the default notebook for that SharePoint site or team. Okay. Now with best practices, these are the notebooks you want to be using with your firm. Almost every notebook that you have along your notebook listing probably should be one of the team default notebooks. Because then when you do that, if I create a notebook for 1040 clients and I put information about my 1040 clients in there, then what's going to happen is anybody that joins that team will have access and be able to open that notebook without me having to do anything else. I don't have to go in there and share it to them again. Once they're part of that team, they already have access to it. Okay. And then what we're going to do is come in, add a tab at the general. Well, I've got the stuff documented here, but let me actually show you how we can actually do that. Okay. So right inside here, I'm going to go in and I'm going to bring up Teams real quick. Let me get into, let's switch over real quick to the right team. So right inside here, I've got my team set up. So what we're going to do to be able to access this team default notebook, the way you're going to do it is come into the General tab. And let's just go take a look at it. I'm in the General tab. I can go to Files. And then from here, I can click Open in SharePoint. And that's going to actually then take me to the SharePoint site for that site right there. This right here is my documents. And I've got all of my documents sitting right there, which is the same thing as Files. But if I come down here and click Notebook, this is the notebook that I'm using for this team right here. And it's all this stuff is basically sitting right there. Okay. So now if I go in and close this, if I come back to Teams, what I want to do is right across here, there's going to be a plus button. And I can't because I'm a guest in this one, but there's normally a plus button right here across the top. I can click plus, and then it's going to ask me, and I've got pictures in the PowerPoint that will show you how to do this. But then what you're going to do is you're going to go in, select OneNote, and then click the default notebook. And when you do, that notebook, there'll be a tab right here for that notebook right there. Okay. So by putting the default notebook as a tab in the general channel, anybody that comes to this team can come here, go to the general channel, come right up here to the notebook, click right here, open in browser, and then click open in desktop app. And when they do that, it's going to then automatically open up in their Microsoft OneNote. So that's really the step that you're going to do. Go to every team, add a tab, add the default notebook to the general channel. Your staff can then come in, see the general channel, come here, click the tab. You can actually edit and do things in here if you want. So this is a live OneNote right here. This is actually, if I go in here and make it an edit here, it will change it. But what you want to do is click the drop down, click open in desktop app, and then that will go in and then open it up and then drop it into Microsoft OneNote right here, and you'll see it right along here. So that is how you open up the SharePoint default notebook in there. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about is how do we get to the OneDrive notebook, which is what I'm calling your briefcase. Okay, so in your OneDrive, in your business OneDrive, and actually in your personal one, there's probably a notebook with your name in there. So in this case right here, I have a Rob at Liscio, and for some reason, and this is really weird, and I don't know why this happens, but sometimes what will happen is if you click in notebooks, you may see another one there. So this one right here, if I open it up, I can actually come in here and see that this one is actually the one that has all the information in it. This one right here is basically empty because it can kind of get confusing because I have two files of the same name. What I'm going to do, and I see this a lot, I'm just going to come in here and then go ahead and delete that. Yep. And then that way it's not going to be there. But my briefcase, the notebook that I'm calling my briefcase is sitting right there, and that is Rob at Liscio. So you will probably have in your business OneDrive, you'll have your name at your firm right there. And what you're going to want to do there is go in, access it via the web browser. Click right here where it says Open in Desktop App, and then click Open right there. And when you do that, it's going to then go in, open this up, and drop it in right here on your listing there. And then you'll be able to access it right from your OneNote desktop right there. Okay. Now that's really, that is how you can then open it up from Teams. And then that is also how you can open it up from the browser right there. So if you see it online, you can come in here, click Open in Desktop App, click Open, and then it'll go ahead and then basically open that up. Now, here is one issue. If you go in there and you open it up and it automatically opens it up in Windows 10, what happened was the very first time that you opened one up, you selected OneNote or Windows 10, and by then it's going to change the default to that. So what you're going to have to then do here in the very last page of the PDF, I show you how to come in here, go down to Default Apps, click on Default Apps, scroll down here, go to Choose Default Apps by Type, and then switch that to OneNote. And in some cases, sometimes it'll say OneNote and OneNote for Windows 10. I've seen some Windows installations where they both say OneNote, and one's with a purple background and one's with a light blue background. I think you want to pick the one with the light blue background. But once again, you want to be using Microsoft or just OneNote desktop, not Windows 10. Okay. Now you can also go in and add other SharePoint site locations. And I've got steps on how to basically do that. But before you start adding other OneNotes inside of SharePoint sites and just start opening a ton of SharePoints, use the default one first. Okay. Make sure that you've really utilized that, that default team notebook, and then that's completely full, or before you just go and start adding two notebooks. Because one of the problems that I see people do is you just add too many notebooks. So start with notebooks slowly. Okay. You don't want to have a notebook with only one or two sections in it. It's kind of like having a filing cabinet with only two manila folders in it. It doesn't make sense. And you don't want to have a section or a manila folder with just one page in it, because you would never put one page in just one manila folder. Okay. So don't sit there and create too many section groups, too many sections, too many notebooks from the beginning. Let the stuff fill up. And then after you start getting data, then you can start organizing it a little bit better. But don't try to over organize in the very beginning, because if you do, you'll probably end up with way too many empty boxes. And then also right inside here, this screenshot right here is one that you may want to print off. This page right here, what I did was I summarized the different locations of all of the different notebooks right here. You've got your most common, which is going to be side assets right here at the top. You're going to have stuff sitting in your business OneDrive right there. And that right there, you can tell notebooks is the folder. Then we may have other locations. So for example, if I did go in there in my 1040 and let's say I created a team called 1040 Research. Okay. If I had a team called 1040 Research, Then I put the OneNote file in that folder, in that channel, 1040 Research, and then spun it up. So that is a notebook sitting in SharePoint. It's not the default one, because if it was the default one, it would be saying site assets. But this one right here, it says shared documents, which means it's in the document library of the 1040 example, and it's sitting in the folder 1040 Research, which is also a channel. So that right there tells you where that file is located. And then lastly, if it's in a personal OneDrive, it's going to be this. So that right there is a summary of pretty much the 4 places where a OneNote notebook is going to reside. Now I've got about 5 more minutes. I may go a little bit over, but let me kind of go through and say, here's how we're going to actually, now that we've got it set up, we've got our notebooks created and inside of OneNote 2016, how do we get some information in here? Well, Microsoft Quick Notes, think of that like a virtual filing cabinet. What you're going to want to do is have a folder in your briefcase. So right here, I've got a Quick Notes in my Robert Licio. Think of that as my virtual inbox. And what I'm going to be able to do from a bunch of different tools, I'm going to be able to grab something, throw it into this Quick Notes, and then from there, I'm going to be able to sit there and then file it later. And sometimes I'll never file it. I'll just take it and move it to a completely different section. But here's the thing. Capture the information, because you never know when you're going to need it. I can't tell you how many times I've captured something and then months later just search for it and I was able to find it. But that's what you're going to do with Quick Notes. That's why you want to use Quick Notes, because it's your virtual inbox. Now, what can we do to actually use the virtual inbox? In this case right here, what you can do is download the Onenote Clipper. And when you do, if you go here and then install it, you're going to see a little extension in your browser right here, whether you're Edge or Chrome. Edge basically is Chrome, so Edge actually runs Chrome add-ons. You're going to see a little OneNote right up there. All you're going to do is if you're on a web page, you come in here, you click this. It's going to ask you to sign in, so you're going to sign in. But when you do, you're going to be able to select the article, make sure that you're sending it to Quick Notes, and then when you hit clip, it's going to bring that entire web page right into your Quick Notes as editable text with a hyperlink back to the original site. So if you're doing research on anything, clip it, clip the article, and you've got the entire article where you can go in there, get rid of stuff that you don't need, edit it, curate it, and make it your own. OneNote Clipper I use all the time. Just grab information when I'm researching the web and go from there. The OneNote icon, I kind of quickly showed you how to do that before. You just click the button here, and then you go in, you do a screen grab of what you want. And from here, you can either search for a section to add a new page, or you can actually bring it right to the page. So for example, down here where it says Rob Licio dashboard, if I selected that page, it would actually add the screenshot to the bottom of that page. Okay, you can also copy to the clipboard, but if you just click send to the selected location, it's going to capture it and send it immediately, even if you don't have OneNote open. So that's a quick way to, 1, capture a website, and 2, capture anything that you're looking on your screen, even if you're not in OneNote. You can also print to OneNote. So for example, if you go in there and select the OneNote printer and then basically click that, it's going to then go in there, bring up the location button again, where you can send it to a brand new page in a section or add it to the bottom of a current page. So it uses the same functionality, but instead of doing a screen clipping, it's going to come in and send anything that you want to print out. It can basically send right there. Another way, instead of printing stuff out, for many years, I printed stuff out. But then what happened was, for example, if I printed out this intercompany tie-out, it had a lot of white space. You see all this extra space down here at the bottom and along the right-hand side there. It brought in an 8 by 11 piece of paper, which means there's a lot of wasted space. So instead of doing that, what I started to do was when I would go and print preview it, instead of printing it, virtually printing it into OneNote, I just did a screen clipping. So the same amount of space on your screen, what would you rather see? The one on the right, which is kind of tiny and you can't see, or the one on the left? So by just screen clipping exactly what you need, instead of printing it out, it's going to allow you to give you a lot more information, a lot easier to read. Then with your mobile device, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take your phone, and this is on the iPhone right here, click it in the upper left-hand corner, or install OneNote on your phone. In the upper right-hand corner, you click your account, make sure that your account is added. And so in this case right here, I have 3 accounts, my OneNote for All, my personal, and my Licio account right there. Once I'm logged in, I can go in there, click more notebooks right here. Any notebook that I've been recently editing is going to show up here. Then I can click that. And once I then click on that right there, it's going to open it up and actually be. So right here, I have my Rob at OneNote for all. I have my Rob Smith, which is a personal one. And then once I click Liscio, it's going to appear over here too. Now that I have Liscio open up here, I can click on it, go straight into my quick notes right here. I'm going to see all my quick notes, so I can just click on any of these pages to view it. Or I can come in, and at the bottom, there's going to be this little purple button with a plus button on it. If you click that, it's going to create a brand new page. From there, I can add a page title. I can come in, click right in the page itself, click the picture button, and take a picture of anything. This is my own personal scanner. I get a piece of mail in, I take a picture of it. If I'm looking at something on a wall that I want to remember, I take a picture of it. I was at a dinner with 100 business cards on it. I wanted to remember who was there. I held my phone up and took a picture of that. Take a picture of it. It's going to go straight into your OneNote, and it's going to be able to OCR. On that one where I took a picture of a bunch of business cards, it found a name on that picture of their business card 3 months later. The search is utterly amazing. So that right there is very quickly how you can go in, set up OneNote, determine what notebooks you need to be doing it, whether it's in OneDrive or SharePoint. And then lastly, 5 quick ways on how you can get information into OneNote. So what I'd like you to do is follow this, basically take this, go a lot slower, step by step, set this up on yourself, watch this video, follow the PowerPoint, and then start using OneNote, because there's only really one wrong way to use OneNote, and that is to not use it. Once again, my name is Rob Smith. I'm working at Liscio. And we're sitting there, and the reason we're doing this, even though I didn't even really mention what Liscio is or what we do, this is something that we believe that you guys should know, because this is how you're going to be able to cure information chaos and be able to gather information and turn it into knowledge for both you and your firm and be able to scale and grow. So this is why I'm bringing this to you today. And hopefully yes, how every other week we're going to be coming in, learning a little bit more about Microsoft OneNote. And hopefully by the end of the year, you guys will be 365 experts yourself. And then this right here on the very last page was basically how we do the OneNote thing right there. So that right there is pretty much the presentation. Does anybody have any questions?
Have we gotten any questions in the chat, Walter? I guess not. Well, Rob, thank you very much for joining us today. I appreciate it, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks.
You have a good day, and see you then.
All right, take care. Bye.
Bye.